With WrestleMania plans changing for Steve Austin and Cody Rhodes, this is Wrestling Hub. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report for March 6th. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official, and also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. With him recently talking to Jim Barcelona about the Revolution pay-per-view tonight, AEW President Tony Khan brought up the match between Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson and noted how Jon convinced Bryan to join the promotion. I don't know if people know, Jon Moxley is a big reason why Bryan Danielson came to AEW in the first place. He really vouched for this place. He gave his word to Bryan that this is a great place to work, and that helped connect me to Bryan Danielson, that Mox gave him that referee, that I am a good person to work for and that this is a good company to come to. After making his debut for AEW, Ricky Starks has been a consistent highlight on programming for the company. Talking on the Superstar crossover show, Starks noted that he would be unbeatable if he ever worked with Paul Heyman. Well, first off, I think the fact that Paul is going to acknowledge me is also a good start here. You know what it is? You know what I actually really like about Paul is the fact that this dude worked his way up from one of the most famous clubs in New York as a photographer to where he is now. I admittedly and selfishly would have loved to have the chance to work with him. Bro, I am like a piece of clay right now. Can you imagine if Paul Heyman got his hands on me? I would be freaking unstoppable. I'm already on my way to being on stage. What I'm saying is, I would have been there a lot quicker. So the personal situation with Paul Heyman is the fact that what a missed opportunity between me and him, don't you think? With him set to face Pat McAfee at WrestleMania 38, Austin Theory spoke to WWE Deutschland about dream opponents he wants to face in the future as he replied, John Cena. Every time, John Cena. You know what? I feel personally that I just got to keep building myself and keep climbing that ladder and keep, just impressing. I want to give John something to compete with, because that's somebody I feel like has so many accomplishments and it takes a lot to be on that level. And I just want to have something to offer. And I feel like, I'm on my way. So let's definitely make that happen though, because I'm not going to say no to it. I'm not going to back down. I'm not going to give up. Theory would also talk about the pressure that comes with working alongside Vince McMahon. It's amazing. I remember the first time I found out we were going to do anything together, work together. I was nervous because I'm like, there's no bigger star in, I feel like in WWE than Mr. McMahon. And then it comes to sports entertainment as a whole. He's definitely the first on that Mount Rushmore. To me, that's all going through my head when I gotta go, sit down with him and we have to shoot this promo. And especially, being live, it's a lot of pressure, but I think over the time it's just learning from him and knowing what he wants and what he's looking for, and just his mentorship and him helping mold me and understand how the WWE works. It's awesome and I have no complaints about it whatsoever. On the DDP Snake Pit, Jake Roberts touched on the differences between Vince McMahon and Tony Khan, noting what he originally thought of the AEW president. I met him at the first TV I went to. Just a sweetheart, man. I thought he was just some jabroni that carried papers around. I didn't know who the hell he was because he doesn't come across as a Vince McMahon, stare you down type. He's very personable. He's very nice. He's very nice to be around. Yeah, and I love the energy he has. It's incredible, the energy. And his appreciation of what the talent is doing out there. It's incredible. I've seen him leave his position and sprint to halfway across the building to tell someone what a great match. I've never seen Vince do that. I appreciate everything that they do. Everything including birthday cakes for guys on their birthdays too. The way they handle everything, the hotels that they put us in, the flights, to just all of it, man. It's a class organization, and I see what's happened. He's taken what he's been doing for years with football people and the soccer people in England because he owns a club over there, and he's given that same type of love, that's what I call it, to wrestlers, and it's absolutely wonderful. Given he's been medically cleared to return to in-ring competition, many are wondering who Corey Graves will face in his comeback match. On 110.7 Star on Demand, Graves mentioned someone he'd love to face at Mania. I would say right now Seth Rollins. Rollins just because he's a guy I always had chemistry with in the ring in NXT, but he has just continued to get better and better and better, and is doing some of the best work of his career right now. And while he may not be, WWE champion, what he brings every night in this new persona with the dancing, and he's so obnoxious, and he gets under everybody's skin. I love what Rollins is doing. I'd love to mix it up with him one more time. With AEW's recent acquisition of ROH, it was reported that Triple H had wanted WWE to buy Ring of Honor back in 2018. Of course, this would not happen, but Dave Meltzer noted in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that the promotion would have ultimately been shut down. WWE would have only wanted the tape library for matches which featured WWE stars. It was previously reported that former AEW EVP Cody Rhodes was on internal documents for WrestleMania this year. Recently, Meltzer pointed out that WWE's original offer to Cody had been decreased in value due to Rhodes' departure from AEW going public. Now, Ringside News has reported that Cody Rhodes' WrestleMania status has changed. We can confirm this is true. Not 3 hours after we reported that he was on Mania documents, the creative team was informed that things changed. We can now confirm that Cody Rhodes was taken off all WrestleMania documents. Meltzer would also explain the plans that had been laid out for Cody in WWE. As far as Cody Rhodes, since we already brought him up earlier, his status has changed in theory. He was on the books in WWE. They had creative laid out for him. They still thought on Friday that they had creative laid out for him, and then now it's very uncertain. They don't know what's going on with Cody Rhodes. They're not sure. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. It's up in the air. They don't know. They thought they had him, and now it's not like it's dead. It's like they think they don't have him, but they're not sure. Everyone in the world thinks that Cody runs Ring of Honor or something. I suppose there's ways to do that angle and everything like that, but I guess we're just going to have to wait and see how this all plays out. There have been reports of a WrestleMania feud between Kevin Owens and Stone Cold Steve Austin, as KO has been trashing the state of Texas on programming, which is Austin's home state, and where the pay-per-view will take place. It was said that the company was waiting on Owens to finish up his angle with Seth Rollins, yet Meltzer noted on Wrestling Observer Radio that WWE is scaling back Austin's involvement. The big thing was they wanted Vince and they wanted Austin, because they've got a lot of tickets to sell, and Pat McAfee versus Austin Theory is not going to be selling a lot of tickets. And Steve Austin and Kevin Owens is, they will have a confrontation, but it is not clear if that will be a match or not anymore. It's essentially up to Austin at this point. They want the match. They thought they had the match. And, Steve, there's a reason he hasn't wrestled for 19 years. I just know that as of Friday, he had not agreed to do the match, even though it was on the books. Now, it's on the books as a confrontation. Talking on Wrestling Observer Radio, Bryan Danielson gave his reaction to Tony Khan's purchase of Ring of Honor. Tony had actually brought up that it was a possibility to me a couple of weeks ago. He didn't know if it was going to happen or not. I was like, that's really exciting, but it's also interesting. Part of me wonders about there being too much wrestling on TV already and what it is going to look like. Is it just going to be for the tape library? I don't have any indication if, say, he starts running Ring of Honor, what does that look like? I was trying to come up with ideas as far as what can we do with Ring of Honor that would enhance AEW rather than detract from it or add another hour of TV or whatever. I came up with some ideas, but nothing solid. Tony is a really good thinker about professional wrestling, and interesting thinker in general, who can manage to juggle so many things in his mind at once. It'll be interesting to see how it turns out to be. With WWE hyping up their Madison Square Garden live event by adding the likes of Brock Lesnar to the card, many were upset over the opponent for the Beast, Austin Theory. Fans took to Twitter to write, "Former Lesnar opponent is Austin Theory. Y'all played yourselves. Congrats." They put in Walmart Tyler Breeze. Everyone who is pissed right now has been worked. Stop fantasy booking and just let things play out, morons. Every dirt sheet and journalist who hyped this up. Everybody sat through a house show just for Brock's mystery opponent to be Austin Theory. Previously, Jeff Hardy noted in an interview that he will be going to AEW. Now, Fightful has reported that Hardy and Shane Strickland are expected to debut in the near future. Jeff will be in attendance backstage for Dynamite this Wednesday and is set to appear on the show. Strickland has signed with AEW and could debut as soon as the pay-per-view. During that interview with F4W Online, Bryan Danielson mentioned why he decided to leave WWE for AEW. I don't like to divulge my conversations with Vince McMahon at all because I know he's a very private person, but one of the things when I finally made my decision, I'm like, okay, I'm set on this decision. And he was kind of asking me why, and I said, you know, there's part of me too that just wants to be able to bleed. And he immediately said, well, I'm sorry, I'll never be able to give you that. So yeah, it's not like I want to do it all the time. There's something, I don't know, incredibly life-affirming about it. As strange as that sounds. When I did the checks and balances as far as what I want to do in my life, where I can make a bigger impact and help more people, what the quality of my life would be for my children, two things that are not related at all would be being able to spend time with my family and being able to bleed. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.